Hey there, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Positioning to Profit podcast. This is episode 71, and today I'm featuring Deborah Ivanoff. She is a master coach who helps entrepreneurs, specifically executives, people in real estate. She's been in the game for over 2 decades, and she really helps people get unstuck from overwhelmed, where they're operating at a fraction of their true potential. And so today we are talking about the ever popular topic of change, right? Some people have a really hard time dealing with change, the uncertainty that comes along with it. And so today's topic is how to deal with change. So she's going to be sharing some practical strategies and tips on how to do that, because the fact is, as entrepreneurs, change is inevitable. So it is perhaps a matter of reframing what change means to you, shifting your perspective on change in order for you to move forward. So today's tip is covering more about her business, what she's doing, how she came to be, and of course, sharing some tips on change. Also, don't forget my new positioning and ebook. You can find it over at positioningguide.com. It's Positioning to Profit, a practical guide for coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs struggling to stand out. You can just head over to positioningguide.com, grab the ebook copy for yourself if you are looking for more strategies on positioning your business to profit. All right, on with the show, and here we go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me, because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right. Hey, Deborah.
Patty.
I'm so happy you're here. Now help me pronounce your last name. I didn't ask you before we started.
Oh, no worries. It's Ivanoff.
Deborah Ivanoff, welcome to the Positioning to Profit podcast. It's so good to have you here. And before we hit the record button, we were talking about the all too popular question that I always ask is from a differentiation standpoint. I have to say, you nailed it. And so I'm excited to introduce you to our audience because, as you know, there's a lot of coaches out in the space, and you and now, in my mind, have captured mind share. So I would love for you to share kind of your 3-minute story of your background and how you got to where you're doing today.
Okay, very quickly. I wanted the tools. That's the quickest. Yeah, I was an older single mom, no support, 2 little kids trying to run a business. And I wanted what coaching offered. I wanted those tools for myself. And then I was ignited with how this works and how could it work for me in my life and my business specifically. And then people started coming to me. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to go into detail, but that's really where it started.
Oh, that's so good. And so how long have you been coaching now?
I've been coaching for over 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure as you've gone through your career, you've gone through different iterations and ways to kind of stand out. And so maybe share what have been some of the ways of things that you've tried. I know I've gone through that myself, and kind of how you help to craft that thing that you stand for now. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah, that is such a great question, because especially for coaches, but also for all business people, we have other coaches around us, other coaches and mentors that tell us this is the path. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness we have those people, right? Thank goodness we do. And sometimes we have to feel, or in my case, stumble our way through finding what it really is for us. And sometimes just being open to what the universe puts in our path. That's how it worked for me, was what was the universe putting in my path, that then when I responded to that, it led me to another step or another stepping stone. Now, don't get me wrong, had plenty of help along the way, lots of resources, lots of good teachers and coaches and things I threw against the wall to see what stuck and what didn't. But I would have to say that the greatest contributor to my own process, getting to what was my process and what it was that really differentiated me, was my willingness to do my own work. Mm-hmm. I learned more from just really focusing, from debriefing, from examining, from being brave and looking at what it was. And like I said, getting plenty of help, so many helpers along the way, but being willing to take a look at what was really going on, what was working, what wasn't, what could work better. That's what really finally began to help me hone in on, wait, what is it that's different about me? And it did change. That was the thing. Over time it did. And I bet you find that too, don't you, Patty, with people? That it changed a little bit?
Absolutely. There is no, it's cast in stone and forevermore to be the same. I think as we evolve and our own growth and our own experiences, it allows us to refine and fine tune. I mean, I think the net of this all is that we have the luxury of pivoting or being nimble and really recognizing there's no wrongness if you are changing course slightly or just kind of saying something new. That at the end of the day, if the resonance is there for the people in the receiving end, that I'm a big proponent of, that they're the only ones that matter, right? In terms of like, is my message connecting with the person that I'm intending to connect with very specifically?
Yes. Oh, so, yeah, you nailed that one. Yeah, for sure. And I'm also seeing a lot of coaches who are either incorporating or moving into other areas or incorporating other areas as the needs of our world change and as the familiarity with what's even available for people. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more people in the healing arts. I'm seeing a lot of coaches incorporating things that are healing. I'm seeing that too. So we're responding to the changes in the world around us.
For sure. I love it. Okay. So before we hit the record button, you were saying how you really saw that there was a need here around this concept of change and people finding, I know, hello, not that I have a problem with change necessarily, but I know a whole lot of people that do, because change is scary, change is uncertain, change is risky, and what is on the other side of change is unknown. So you've kind of seen that as, I'm sure, a pattern in your clients and what have you. So can you talk more about that? Because I thought that was so genius when you said that. I'm like, oh my God, yes, change.
Well, now I am going to step back and tell you a little tiny bit more of a story because it relates to this. I think that I was conditioned as everybody else is to think things were one way, to think they worked one way, to think if you pushed hard enough or grinding hard enough, did enough, if you were mean enough to yourself that you could force yourself to do and make the things happen that you wanted to. And because I came from that background, I would often set about to make those changes in my life. And then when the going got tough and I just felt like I hit a wall, I would be like, I'm doing this wrong. And I would start all over again. And then I met a mentor who had this genius idea and about how change and choice happened. And he likened what I was doing to someone who planted the correct seeds. And then when it didn't work out and I didn't see the fruit, I dug the seeds up right at the time they were about ready to burst through. And that was so genius. And it just ignited my mind with this idea of there is a particular place in the change or the transformation process where things can feel wrong. They can seem wrong to us and we'll turn our back and walk away, or like I would do, we'd just blow it up. And so of course we experience that 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, right? Of course we experience that. How could we not? And so that's one of the biggest changes for me, was that I understood that when I hit this certain place in the change process, that what I was seeing, feeling, hearing, experiencing didn't mean I was doing something wrong. It meant I was doing something right.
Yeah.
I love the metaphor of a butterfly, right? And I don't know if you know this, Patty, but when that little caterpillar crawls into its little cocoon and it binds itself up really tightly, it doesn't come out as a caterpillar with wings stuck on it. It actually turns into goo. It actually turns into this undifferentiated stuff. And that helped me to understand that too, that right when I was just on the verge of making that shift from who I was and what I was doing and where I was to who I wanted to be, right in that in-between part got gooey. It got messy. It could be painful. I'm not a really big believer in breakdown to breakthrough. I know people say that, and I have had breakdowns that have helped me break through. So I definitely see how it's possible, but I don't think you have to break down to break through. I think there's many ways to go through that choice point.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, go ahead too. So for somebody that's dealing with change and they're really struggling with it, like what are just some practical tips? Like what are 2 or 3 things that they can do to just kind of recognize how to pivot or how to work through those pain points when it comes to change? Because I mean, as entrepreneurs, we have a whole lot of change all the time. I mean, especially when you look at everything that's been going on for this year alone, right? I mean, talk about being like navigating ambiguity.
Oh my goodness.
It's so big. So yeah, just some tips or maybe even a story of somebody that you've helped with the way that you do things.
I would love to do that. I'd love to tell you about a client that did that. And then I would love to play with you a little bit with Patty, and maybe other people can play along too, if that's cool for you. Is that cool for you? For sure. So let's play first, and then I'll tell you about my client who was in a 6-month program and got everything she wanted in 6 weeks. It's just amazing. I know, right?
That's awesome.
That's how powerful understanding this one particular part of the change process can be. It can be like a powerhouse. But for the moment, let's think about this. Think with me of a time when you attempted a really big change. Think about a time when you attempted a really big change. Okay. And you did the same thing I did. You either got scared or it got too hard, or it seemed like you had no choice and you turned around and left, or things collapsed. Just think of one of those times. Yeah. Got it in your mind?
Yeah, okay. I do.
Now think about a time when you were going through a change, and the going may have gotten tough too, but something got you through and over the hump. What was it? What was it that got you through and over the hump into the home run?
Probably because I committed, like the commitment of like, okay, I have to get this done. Like, I'm just going to get it done. And just when it got tough, I'm like, okay, I always equated to, it's like I'm climbing a mountain, right? And then you're like, God, are we ever going to get to the top? You know what I mean? Like, or even when you're on the bike and you're going uphill and you're pushing, grinding. I'm like, I can't wait to get to that point where it's that tipping point where then it starts getting easier. A lot of different, but yeah. So for me, the difference maker has always been the commitment, is when I've decided that I'm going to make it happen.
So am I hearing a little bit of a no matter what under that commitment?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what it was for you, that no matter what. And you can't really fake that out, can you?
No.
Like that's either there or it isn't.
Right.
And so that is one way. That's one tip to really align originally with what it is you want to do, and have it so aligned that you feel that no matter what. And you can't really fake it.
Right.
Some things we think we want.
All right, we are about halfway through with this episode of the Positioning to Profit podcast, and I wanted to stop by with a share that I'm really excited about. Now, the fact that you're here means that you're probably looking for help with your marketing. I mean, let's face it, most of the marketing tips and the buzzwords that you hear out in the marketplace center around tactics that small business owners can employ. The problem with that is that there's a whole lot of tactics out there, but not a whole lot of strategy, and that's where I come in. I help coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs position themselves for profit. It won't cost you millions of dollars like the big brands, but it will cost you some time. And in this special book that I put together, you can find it over at positioningguide.com, I go into the essentials of Positioning to Profit, which is a guide that I put together for coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs struggling to stand out. So head on over to positioningguide.com and grab a copy for yourself. All right, let's get back to the show.
But then when the going gets tough, it's not enough. We don't have a big enough why we want to do it. We don't have big enough clarity or desire about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just simply, do we have what it takes to carry it through? And this is why I don't really gel with the whole mental toughness idea is because it really has to be something that lives in the heart and the body as well, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah, agreed.
No matter what. So there's other techniques as well, but I would say that for you, it's that. And for anyone who's listening, who went through that little exercise with us, it could be something else. For me, long ago, it was always, what does this mean to my family? What will this mean to my kids? What will this mean to my relationship to my children when they're 25? So you hear from me behind that, there was an intention that I had and also something I really valued. So a value can be something that really carries you through. And if we're not in alignment with our values, how can we carry through?
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it can be different things for different people. But once you know what it is, this is what made the change for me, is knowing what it is. Then I recognize that sign as, oh, I must be getting close. Oh, I'm in the change process. Oh, I'm right where I should be. Those argumentative voices are coming up. The silly mishaps and broken office equipment and silly things are happening. The upsets with people. I must really be changing. That's what I always do. So I created a new habit out of that awareness. But it can be a number of different things. So here's what it was for my client. I had a client named Catherine, and she came to me and she lived here in Portland. That's where I am in Portland. She wanted a new job in a new city, making more money, even though her own job coach and resume coach told her it couldn't happen where she was looking. She was looking in Austin, Texas. Nope, they won't pay you more than they do here. And she wanted to move to that particular city, and she wanted a particular kind of an apartment. And she wanted to do all of that in 3 months. And I was like, good, we have a 6-month program. We're going to rock and roll this. And then she's like, oh, nope, I want to set up the time frame. And by the way, I want to take a 3-week vacation and go back and see my family in New York. And oh, you know what? I've never been to Japan. I'm not kidding. She wanted all of that. And she got all of that in 6 weeks.
Unbelievable.
Now, it was still about 9 weeks before she lived through all of that, right? And she's doing great. She lives in Austin. And that was one of those things where, because I have this confidence about the change process, I know that anybody can want anything they want if they really want it, right? And she was committed. Now for her in-between discomfort part looked like what she called limbo. I'd never had a client talk about that, like limbo, where she'd get in this unknown and she'd feel like she was in one of those dreams where you can't move forward and you can't move back. Yeah. And she was really afraid of landing in that limbo land. So for her, it was about really getting to know herself and what she could do, and that it didn't matter to anybody else. It was really about personal authority and having the support to help her with the funny little things that came up. Like, how do I talk to them about what I want in this job? Like, how do I make a counter offer from a communication point of view? Like, how do I talk to them about visiting when I can't get my airfare at this particular time? So it was a lot of getting lost in the details and just knowing she had someone she could call, someone who was there, like have her back. That's what she needed. That's what kept her out of that limbo. So it's just really interesting. And so then that created a pattern for her. She knows when she goes to make another major life change, limbo will come up. It'll still, or it may not, but chances are it will, right? Just like funny things I stumble over come up, but the way she'll think about it will change.
That's so good.
Now it'll be part of, this is things working out instead of this is things not working out. Isn't that cool? Seriously, it's so cool.
So great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. So then how do you, I love that. I love those tips, and just really recognizing that you can, like you said, with that tip, when you decide to move forward, no matter what. And for some people, it's true. It's just knowing that you have that someone to go to, someone to help you navigate, to get you back on course. There's so much value. And I mean, I could definitely see why people have coaches for different areas of their life as well. Isn't that the truth? It's like, you need I don't understand how people can accelerate their plan, their life plan, if they don't have coaching, it's just
Well,
so,
we are social animals. And I think more
yeah.
than ever now, so many, especially the extroverts, but boy, are we suffering from, having our supports pulled around from us. And just having someone who can really listen to us, believe in us, that may be what helps people get through that discomfort. But I know there's a lot of people who are like me, who are auditory verbal, just having someone to talk it out. Some people have to tell the story of it. It's not too many people that can work at this stage of things all alone in the dark. I think there's a later stage where you have to go your own path, right? But we're talking about business, and we're talking about helping some things really unfold. And I think there's a huge value in knowing what really supports you and getting the support you need, for sure. And I know you do that with people too, Patty. I know that's so much of what you're all about.
Yeah, agreed. I love it. Okay, so what do you feel is now? So is your coaching, the business that you're doing, has it grown? Has it stayed the same? Have you had to change things, just like you said, being an extrovert and not having those people, but just really pivoting? Do you have any tips or anything like that for how you've navigated
Well,
this whole?
yeah, it's interesting. I've been busier, and the reason I think I have is because a lot of people are at home, and it is hard to work in a vacuum. It's definitely harder to work in a vacuum. I usually work with people who are more commission based, entrepreneurial based. They're wanting to do very creative things, but their sweet, beautiful, sensitive hearts are struggling with the things that are going on in the world, the energies that are going on in the world, and making those pivots. So they have deeper things that this period of time is bringing to the surface, and they hurt, and they're sad, and they don't want to feel it. I hear that from a lot of people. I don't want to feel it. Can't you just give me a pill and make me fearless? And I'm sorry, I cannot.
Isn't it the truth? Yeah.
But I can help people really get that foundation underneath them, so they both feel the fear, they feel the sadness, they feel the nervousness, and they can still step in, they can still lean in. And that's how I'm helping people right now. I see a lot more than I might have been with some of the communication or the relationship work. Right now, a lot of this really has to do with just inner heart stuff that's making it very difficult to get on the phone, to show up, to get into action every single day. Are you seeing that, Patty? Is that what you're seeing?
100%. It's so interesting. A lot of people, especially if you've already done a lot in the online space, people's businesses are growing because those people that are transitioning to online only, that's a big change for them. And for me, it's like a new conversation that I've had to have where it's which sounds like what you're doing too, is adapting to the new ways of doing business and the kind of the aftermath that goes along with it, right? Whether it's loneliness or a lack of confidence, or, this is new and different. And are we ever going to go back to normal? I mean, we're shifting.
I don't think so.
So many things,
Yes.
Yeah. It's a massive, massive change.
Interesting. That's the thing. If you think about this change process, which is what we've been talking about, that happens when people hire me or you as a coach, either one. We're learning new skills. We're in the gooey hot seat, right? Where we literally feel like things are coming apart because we're going to reorganize into that new creature, right? But now we have all this change around us on top of it. So now we feel like the sand's falling from beneath our toes. So to be setting out on change ourselves in a landscape that's changing, it's going to make us hella strong is what it's going to do eventually. But in the meantime, it's going to make us hella uncomfortable.
Right. I love it. Hella strong, hella uncomfortable, hella messy, hella gooey.
Could be.
Oh my God. All the things. Okay. So thank you for that, because I think that the net of what we learn is like change is inevitable. It's how you manage a change. And there are ways to manage it. And just knowing that for me personally, I don't really have a tough time with change. I always see it as a new opportunity, but that's just purely because it's been a reframe, right? I could get bogged down in the circumstance of it all. Like, oh my gosh, this is so scary, this and that. I'm like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's see what's on the other side of this, So it truly is that perspective of choosing to see that it's an opportunity. It doesn't have to be a catastrophe or scary and all these other things. So I'm so happy because people like you, what you do, the coaching that you do is so absolutely essential for those folks that really do need that guidance. So, and I don't see this dying down anytime soon. It's only
I don't either.
even more, it's noisy. There's a lot of
and see, that's the thing you're talking about, Patty, is you're talking about practicing this.
Yeah.
See, you've been putting yourself into the arena over and over and over.
Yeah.
This came as a surprise to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
A lot of people who were used to doing things in a certain way, and now all bets are off. It could be anything. Tomorrow could be something new. Probably will be. Yep. So I think that's for people who have not been practicing putting themselves in discomfort all the time. This is a rude awakening.
It really is. And you're going to be in business for a very long time to come because I don't think any of this is dying down.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But it, like you said, opportunity, totally an opportunity.
It really is. All right, Deborah, how do people get a hold of you to find out more about they're in this change panic and you've addressed this change and how easy peasy it could be, and you can help guide people through this change process? How do people get in touch with you?
It's very easy. My website is my name, DeborahIvanoff.com, or you can go to The Being, B-E-I-N-G, The Being Coach, because it's more than just the doing, it's the being. So thebeingcoach.com, and it'll take you there to my site. And you can just click, there's a little link at the very bottom where you can hit a get to know you, and you can set up your own appointment. And if somebody wants to talk a little bit with me, it's easy peasy.
I love it. So thebeingcoach.com, or your name, Deborah, with an H at the end.
No H. Ivanoff. No H.
No, I mean in your first name.
Oh, yes. In the first name. Yeah.
In the first name, it ends with an H. And then regardless, we're going to have the links in the show notes with also your social media handle so people could connect with you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you and I connected on LinkedIn, which gotta love LinkedIn. And it's such a great way, I think, to connect with people. So all of that will be in the show notes. So is there anything I haven't asked you about change or something that you want to share right now that I didn't ask?
I just really want to encourage people. I think there's a lot of high polarity weather out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking even more to the sensitives than I'm talking to everybody else. There's a lot of high polarity weather. So think of that like we're in a hurricane, man. It's not all about you. It's not all about me. There's a lot of weather, and just come back to yourself and see if there isn't a stillness inside. And then move from the guidance that stillness speaks about. I think that's what I'd like people to know.
That's it. That's how you can get in touch with thebeingcoach.com for all that guidance to help you get through change. So Deborah, thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate you. What a pleasure.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for checking out the Positioning to Profit podcast. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. And also, it would mean the world to me if you would take a quick moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast player. It really helps to get the word out about the podcast and, of course, the featured guests. And lastly, please make sure to connect with me on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm on all of them, and use hashtag positioning to profit so that I can search you out and connect that way too. All right. Thanks so much. See you next time.